Today I'm going to try to attempt a question and answer video, and I've done a couple of these in the past, but it's been quite a while. So I'm going to start off with Steve. Now, most of these questions are coming to me via the YouTube channel, some of them through Facebook, Living in the Pacific page, and more than on occasion I'll get an email with some stuff. Some of them are coming from some of my Patreons who subscribe to my Patreon blog and channel, where they get question and answer priority and consultations. The first question is from Steve. He's asking, here in Guam, is it as hard to move money around in Guam as it is in the Philippines? Well, we've banked in the Philippines for many years. We had an account with Metro Bank, and we never really had an issue. Our money was deposited in a U.S. bank, and what we did was just wrote a check and deposited it into our Metro Bank account. And of course, it has to float for 20-some days through the SWIFT system, or the what do they call that? Anyway, there's an international hold placed on it for about 23 to 28 business days. I can't remember, but we floated ourselves when we set up in the Philippines. We floated ourselves 1 month advance, so that way we had money to operate until the check would clear at Metro Bank, and then we just used that money and then wrote another check the following month. So is it hard to move money around in Guam? No, it's pretty easy. Banks here are subject to oversight and regulation by the Guam Banking Commission and the Insurance Board, and they operate under federal guidelines. All bank accounts here are federally insured, FDIC. In the Philippines, you have PDIC. FDIC is, the limits might be $250,000. And there is a P&B branch here in Guam, but it's not a full-service registered bank. And what I mean by that is, many Filipinos here in Guam will use P&B. They'll make their deposits there, and then the money can be withdrawn or transacted with in the Philippines. You cannot withdraw cash, I don't believe, here from the P&B bank here. All you can do is make deposits. They don't loan money. They don't provide any financial services. They'll take your money, and it can be distributed in the Philippines through any P&B branch there. Back to the original question, is it hard to move money around in Guam? No, it's not. Like I said, the banks here in Guam are subject to U.S. banking regulations, I think. And I remember in the Philippines, if you go into the bank to do a transaction, whether make a deposit or convert dollars to pesos, you got to fill out 3 or 4 or 5 different forms of paper, and it requires just as many signatures. Here, it's just a normal banking transaction. So I hope that answers your question, Steve. Com asked me a question, Oka Point. He's referring to one of my more recent videos we did on Oka Point, the hike we made to Oka Point here in Guam. He's wanting to know how did he miss that. I have no idea. If you were on island for any length of time, that's just one of them spots that not too many people know about. And I made a comment about Liberation Day in Guam. Saipan is a big deal. Some bars, do they celebrate Cinco de Mayo? Yes. Every alcohol-related holiday is celebrated here in Guam. St. Patty's Day, Cinco de Mayo, New Year's, you name it. Warren asks, free beer. Question, free beer. You don't see that often. He's referring to probably the Liberation Day video I did where there was free food and free beer. And a few videos before that, I did a piece on the veterans, VFW, Veterans of Foreign Wars picnic on 4th of July. Free food and free beer. What people don't realize is this is Guam. This is the culture in Guam. Guam is Southeast Asia. The cultures are very similar. The Spaniards were here. The Spaniards were in the Philippines. A lot of them same traditions and are all handed down. Guam is full of warm and welcoming people. Fiestas, food, beer. In the case here, most of the food is kind of like a potluck deal. The beer is usually all donated, so Yeah, free food, free beer. Happens a lot here. Nick asks, is your upcoming trip to the Philippines going to be a visit, or are we going to stay there a while? It's just a visit. All we plan on doing from here on out is visiting our home in Calbayog City. We're going to stay over a month this time, I think. We're trying to lay the plans for some travel. I know Terry's going to run up to Bataan for a week or so and visit her sisters up there. And while she's gone, I might head to Cebu or Bohol. I don't know. I might just hang around Calbayog and do more videos. But when we leave there, we're thinking of maybe either going to Hong Kong or China. We're not sure yet. We'll finalize those plans when we get there. But we are going to the Philippines on a one-way ticket, and we're going to leave our travel options open. Carl, I just read somewhere that you had your 10-year anniversary on YouTube. I love your content, but why don't you have more subscribers than you do? Well, that's a complicated subject. First thing, my channel has grown purely on organic growth, meaning I have not purchased subs, I have not purchased views. Some of these channels you see get started, they get started one week and next week they got 5,000 subscribers already. I'm not sure if they're driving all them subscribers through their content. A lot of these guys will start off and they'll buy the views and buy the subs, which is not a smart thing to do because YouTube will demonetize you, or they'll strike against you for purchasing views and trying to screw around with their algorithms. It's complicated. My target market is a small niche of viewers. What I mean by that is, when I started my channel in 2014, my goal was just to document us moving to the Philippines and building a house and moving in and enjoying the simple pleasures in life. And it kind of grew into more of a inspirational channel where I'd help people out and answer their questions about what it took to move to the Philippines, importing household goods and customs, and importing animals. We imported 2 cats, so we've got a lot of experience in those areas, and I wanted to share a lot of that stuff with my viewers online. And from there, the channel just grew, and it grew rather quickly. As you can see, I'll put up a chart, but it grew really quickly from 2014 through 2016, and then when we started making more and more trips to Guam, the channel growth really slowed a lot because I was now doing videos from Guam. And then once we moved to Guam, I rebranded the channel, and the traffic just slowed. And of course, this is just a hobby for me. Like I say, it's just a retirement channel, an inspirational channel. I inspire others to follow their dreams. I don't give out a lot of advice, especially dating advice. I've been on the dating scene for 40 years. I can talk your ear off about Filipinos, but I just don't do it on my channel. I don't buy subscribers. I don't buy views. And it's not a full-time job for me. The channel that I run is a part-time thing. It keeps me busy. It was something to do in the Philippines, and I've talked about this at length. Moving to the Philippines and not having anything to do can be a killer. People wind up with a real sedentary lifestyle. They don't do much. They drink beer, they eat a lot of food, and they just hang around and do nothing. And that's not healthy. So having the channel also inspired me, or motivated me, to get off my butt and get out and drive around and do some videos, and it kept my brain active. And so anyway, it's a good hobby. It kept me busy, and it's still a hobby. I don't produce a lot of videos. In the 10 years I've been putting almost 10 years I've been putting videos out, I've only put out videos. Some guys have put out 2,000. But my videos are not a talking head video like I'm doing right now. If I did more of these and I flashed more pictures of teenage brides and talked about young females, I bet you my subscriber count would just skyrocket. My channel is not exactly a informational content type channel, but then I got to thinking maybe I could start doing some more informational videos. Moving abroad, life in the Philippines, Filipino culture, married to a Filipina, Then I got to think about what would be the #1 topic that would send me more viewers, get me more subscribers, and field more questions. But I'm not all about that. So YouTube's not a full-time job for me, it's a hobby. And I don't do videos every other day. Those guys that do videos every day or every other day have burned out all the topics there is to know about the Philippines. I mean, they talk over and over and over. You know, living in the Philippines for $500 a month or $1,000 a month, you can't do it, for one, not comfortably. But they just beat that horse to death, and I'm just not into that. So one of the reasons that my channel growth slowed going into 2017 is because I rebranded the channel. Originally I started out as Retired in Samar, that was the channel name, and when we finally made the decision to move to Guam, I rebranded. It wasn't accurately reflective of the channel name, Living in Guam. I was retired in Samar, living in Guam, so I rebranded to Living in the Pacific. And from that point on, my viewership just kind of declined because the focus on my channel was really the Philippines in the beginning. That drove all my views, my viewers. But now in Guam, I've seen my Philippine and U.S. views kind of drop, and the Guam views have picked up. So the demographic spectrum on my channel shifted immensely when I rebranded. I don't ever recommend starting a channel and then rebranding because it does hurt. Black Rain says, is it quieter in Guam than in the Philippines? Relating to loud music, dogs, barking, karaoke, etc. Yes, yes, yes. Guam is it's an island. It's a small island, 160,000 people, and I think most of the stuff here is spread out like you would see on the U.S. mainland. The Philippines, everybody's compacted, living like a bunch of sardines in a big can. So here they do have nuisance laws. If you create noise at night, somebody's going to call the cops, and you're going to get a ticket. I mean, that's just, you know, this is America in a lot of that respect. So we don't get the competing karaoke. Remember, here in Guam, most people live in air conditioning. Very rarely will you hear anybody doing karaoke outside. It's usually always indoors. When you go to the beach here, like in the Philippines, nobody brings a portable karaoke machine. You know, they'll set one up here, and then 10 meters over here, they got another karaoke machine, and 10 more meters, they got another karaoke machine set up. No, it's not like that. Barking dogs in some of the neighborhoods here, people have dogs and they do bark as you walk by, but they're not constant barking. We live in a condo, so we don't hear any barking dogs. We don't hear any karaoke. We don't hear any loud music. It's pretty quiet. I get a good night's rest here. And the traffic noise, there's, you know, unless you're living on the main road here, which is Marine Corps Drive, unless you're living alongside Marine Corps Drive, there's no traffic noise. Unless somebody occasionally on a motorcycle or something, Harley or a loud bike. Okay, moving on. Jerry asked this question. Was Joe and his wife able to get on a space-safe flight back to Seattle? I did a video about Joe and his wife coming from the Philippines. They just got married last January. He applied for a spousal visa and was denied. Then he learned about the program through the U.S. Nationalization and Customs Service humanitarian parole program. And after further investigation, he found out that being a veteran or a previous military member, he qualified for a part of that program, which enabled him to bring his wife, to petition his wife under that program. There's a certain set of requirements, and I'll put the link. I put the link in that video, and I'll also make reference to it in this video. But on the Customs and Immigration site, there is a section titled Humanitarian Parole, and it's got all the requirements laid out there. So yes, Joe came through here with his wife. I picked him up at the airport, and I took him back to the airport, or picked him up and took him back to the airport, and they got on a Space A military flight back to Seattle. I think the humanitarian parole that he got for his wife was good for 180 days, and I think after, right at 6 months, they're going to move back to the Philippines, and I think they're living in the Metro Manila. No, they're living at Clark. So, Pat's makes a comment here. Your Asawa is gorgeous. I had to mention this because she'll see this and it'll definitely put her in a good mood. And everybody knows that a happy wife means a happy life. Jerry asks, what about the brown tree snakes on Guam that outnumber humans by 10 to 1? That's a very interesting question. We've been here going on 6 years. I lived here for 5 years when I was stationed in the Navy here, and I have never seen a snake. I take that back. I did see one snake in a trap along a fence along the Navy base, but I have never seen a snake. I've seen maybe a dead one on the road once, but 10 to 1, maybe if you head out into the jungle areas, but I've been through some of the jungle areas. Just the other day, me and a friend went to a beach that's hardly visited. I just put that video up yesterday, and we climbed around through some of the jungles there and never seen a snake. The brown tree snake is an invasive species here and has, in some respects, decimated the local bird population because they feed on bird eggs. So the one thing that they've done to try to control the brown tree snake is they've learned that acetaminophen kills these snakes. So what they do is they lace mice with acetaminophen, and they've dropped mice out of helicopters into the jungle, and snakes eat the mice, and the snakes die. But well, that program is still active. It apparently had some success. I don't know if it's still active. But now what they do is they catch the brown tree snakes in these traps, and they bait them with mice. They can't get to the mouse in the trap, but they bait them with the mouse. They capture the snake, and what they do with them from there, I don't know. I think they kill them. Mark says, very interesting about the humanitarian parole. Yes, it was. And he says, makes me wonder if some expats here are eligible. Well, I'm sure there are. All I can suggest is if you think if you're a military veteran, or you think you might qualify for some of the extenuating circumstances, go to the USCIS site, the U.S. immigration site, and investigate it for yourselves. Everybody's situation is different, so I can't answer any questions as far as who might be eligible and who might not be eligible. Here's a comment from Buy YouTube Views. Okay, this obviously a spamming question. You've set the bar high for other YouTubers. Yeah, it's a spammer. They're trying to get me to go to their channel and buy views and subs. Thank you for the compliment, but I'm still not buying any subs or views. Sorry. Okay, Vimto says, spending time and money building a house in the Philippines, then living somewhere else. Surely you must regret that. Too much money and not enough brains.
Listen, you little wiseacre. I'm smart, you're dumb. I'm big, you're little. I'm right, you're wrong. And there's nothing you can do about it.
Well, I don't have too much money, and at least I've got a few brains. Yeah, we did spend time and money building a house in the Philippines because that's our home. If something ever happens to me, that's where Terry will go. She will go home to her family. She's not going to stay in Guam, or she's not going to stay on the U.S. mainland where somebody will slap her in a nursing home when she's got family that will take care of her back home. So it's our home. And when we go back for any length of time, whether it be 3 weeks or 2 months or 6 months, that is our home, and it will always be our home. So no, I don't regret building a home. I actually like having that place when we go back for a visit. It's like being home. All our stuff is there. So the too much money, not our brains, to each their own, I guess. BJ comments, I don't miss Guam, but I do miss Saipan. BG, I know, has moved from Saipan to the Philippines. I think he's around Cebu. And he's got a YouTube channel, BJ Eddy, Eddy, BJ Eddy. And he does a lot of drone videos. Now, he lived in Saipan for quite a while, and he absolutely loved it in Saipan. Why he moved to the Philippines, I don't know. If you like a place so much, why would you leave it? But you know, I encourage other people, just if you like living in this part of the world, don't just look at the Philippines or Guam. There's other islands out here. There's a whole bunch of islands in the Marshall Islands chain. There's Palau. There's the Northern Marianas. There's Okinawa. I mean, there's plenty of tropical islands to select from if you want to live in this part of the world and live in what you would call your own tropical paradise. Paradise is what you make of it. There is no utopia, only paradise. I watch BJ's videos when I get a chance. Mr. Landon says, or asks me, what software do I use for my drone? He can't get his drone to unlock in certain areas. Well, I know that if you're within 5 nautical miles of a control zone or 5 nautical miles of an airport, most of this software, I use a DJI Mavic Mini 2. And the reason I've never upgraded, a couple reasons. One, fly a lot over the water, and I've already put one drone in the water. So, you know, for me to own a $2,000 drone doesn't make a lot of sense. Two, the DJI Mavic Minis are 249 grams, which means they do not have to be registered with the FAA, and I can travel most anywhere with it in my backpack. There are no special requirements for entering a country with a drone that size, so it's a lot more portable for me. It's made by DJI. It's a reliable drone, and the software that's written for these drones is written in coordination with a lot of the FAA mapping around the world, and not just the U.S. FAA, but around the world. The mapping systems in this software prevent you from unlocking the drone and flying it in a controlled airspace unless you've got permission. Sometimes I can put my drone up where I live here. I'm within 5 miles of the airport, but sometimes I can get my drone in the air if I request an unlock code. I'm not sure where the request goes to, but I send a request off, I get an unlock code, I put it in, my drone unlocks. Sometimes it takes several attempts, and it asks me several questions. Am I authorized to fly this drone? Am I qualified to fly this drone? And do I have permission to fly this drone? Yes, yes, yes. I got the unlock code, so I get launched. So, Mr. Landon, I think the thing you have to do is just be persistent and keep trying. You'll get it unlocked. Okay, Pure Freedom says, I can't believe I spotted the Eden cheese in your video on the store shelf. In the Philippines, it sells for about 60 pesos, or about $1.10 maybe. Here in Guam, it's about $5.69. Eden cheese. It's not real cheese. In the Philippines, I don't eat Eden cheese. It's garbage. We'll eat the Magnolia cheese, the white cheese, but the Eden cheese, this is Guam, and you'll see a lot of Philippine products here in Guam. Most of the little Filipino stores here, even some of the neighborhood markets, carry a lot of Asian foods from Japan, Korea, and the Philippines. We have no problems finding anything from balut to bagoong. It's all here, even Eden cheese. So he was surprised that he's seen Eden cheese on the store shelf here. This question is coming from Das Frescio. How is everything now that the storm has passed? It's been going on 9 weeks since Typhoon Mawar havocked Guam. And actually, if you drive around now, you can't hardly tell. You might see a pile of tin laying there and a pile of wood rubbish laying here that hadn't been picked up yet, but for the most part, everything's been cleaned up. Things are greening out, and aside from a few downed coconut trees laying around, you can't really hardly tell that this island was ravaged by a storm, a major storm. So, and then Rod in the Philippines mentioned that there are still some areas in the Philippines that are still affected by Typhoon Odette, some maybe 19 months ago. Yeah. there's a big difference between Guam and the Philippines when it comes to infrastructure. Most all the infrastructure in Guam is fairly hardened. All our main transmission line poles are big, humongous concrete poles. And the problem we have in Guam here is when on the feeder lines they go into the villages and further on to people's houses, those lines get down by tree branches just like they would in the Philippines. I think it took roughly 8 weeks to get Guam to about 98% restored on electricity. I think most of the water was restored in 4 weeks. Where we live, in the heart of Tamuning, our power was out for about 8 days. I think our water came back in about 7. So we went for 28 days with no power or water after Typhoon Yolanda in 2013 when we were in Calbayog City. We escaped a major catastrophe there. Tacloban got hit very hard, as some of you may know, but we were north of Tacloban by 100 or so miles, so we fared a lot better than they did. Back to the difference between the Philippines and Guam. Guam was much more hardened. We operate on more Western standards here. The Philippines, not so much. The Jimmy Signal asks, are there any charities that really help the folks there? Oh, he's probably related to storms, I guess. Okay. Yes, we've got FEMA, we've got ARC, American Red Cross, we've got military relief societies here, the Air Force Relief Society and the Navy Relief Society. We have a host of other charities, including neighboring islands, which all seem to want to chip in and help out. One of the things about the Marianas is Guam is here, and then you've got Rota, Tinian, Saipan to the north. And one of the things that they've learned over the years is that if they staged certain things on these different islands, if one island gets hit, they have staged supplies to bring in to help in the immediate recovery of the other islands, the neighboring islands. And that seems to work pretty good. So all islands chip in. Even the Taiwanese government donated, I think, $200,000 to helping the Red Cross here assist Guam residents. And I think even the Internal Revenue Service, the good old IRS, is even helping with tax relief. Mr. Landon asks, what's the latest on Don Donkey? It's actually here, it's going to be called the Village of Donkey. Don Donkey is a mega supermarket chain out of Japan. They've got one in Singapore, they've got one in Hawaii. They got several of them, but it's like a Japanese version of Walmart. They've got everything, and they're near completion. The parking lots are paved. They're supposed to open in June, just last month. But from what we understand, there's a snafu with the on-site liquor license. Now, I don't know. I can't imagine a billion-dollar organization like Donkey not planning ahead and talking to Guam about the possibility of not obtaining a liquor license when they're going to invest millions of dollars here on this island with a superstore and create hundreds of jobs. Did they just forget to ask about liquor licenses? I don't think so. Guam is playing politics. This is my personal opinion, and the reason I say that is because I don't think Donkey was that short-sighted, and also I've learned that Guam has issued more licenses than are authorized by the government. So they've already overissued. What's one more to a major retailer? Now, I think it's politics. I think somebody here doesn't want Donkey to open. They're going to try to delay because it's going to put some pressure on another local supermarket chain here that's owned by a powerful Guam family who has, 6 or 7 stores around the island, considered a major supermarket chain here. So it's going to hurt that supermarket chain, and so I think there's politics involved. But as far as I know, they're going to open without the liquor license. I don't know why they wouldn't, but it's going to happen soon. Maybe next month. Maybe by the time we get back from the Philippines, it'll already be open, and we'll miss that rush. Okay, Jerry asks, she's from Dedido and not familiar with your village or area. Where is this? Well, Jerry, we live in the heart of Tamuning. That's about all I can say. Kenneth, are you giving up living on Guam? I'm kind of thinking Ken is having some post-storm thoughts here. No, Ken, we're going to stick around Guam and continue to go back and forth. Storms come and storms go, even in the Philippines. The big difference, like I mentioned earlier, it's a little bit more hardened than the Philippines. Now, if we wanted to escape storms in the Philippines altogether, the best place to go was to the south, Mindanao, Palawan, Dumaguete. The frequency of storms in the southern Philippines is negligible. If you get to the eastern Visayas and northward, up into Luzon, 20 typhoons a year. It's not uncommon to see that many storms. Guam might get affected by 1 or 2 a year in the proximity. So, yes, we're in Typhoon Alley, but not nearly as bad as the Philippines, especially in the central and northern Philippines. So we're going to not give up on Guam, not yet. We're going to stick around. All right, here. Ricky says, have you ever tried matching up the bolts that I find with the nuts that I find? Okay, he's referring to a video I did a while back about look what I found. When we go on these walks, me and my buddy AJ, we walk for health reasons, and I've made it a habit just to keep watching the ground, and I've got a whole hardware store started up here with nuts and bolts and washers and all kinds of things that I found. And yes, many times I get nuts and bolts matched up with each other. I just used a screw the other day that I found a couple months ago on a project here at house. So watch the video. I clean them up, I put them away, and if I ever need any hardware, I've got stuff. Saves me a trip to the Home Depot or any hardware store. Jonathan asks, Comrade, I'm wondering if people still venture into the on-base Spanish Steps area. He's referring to on the naval base at Arroyo Point. No, we have plans to go, but in the old days, it was always open. You could just go down there. But now they've built an ammo wharf out there, and when ships come into Guam, I think they either take on or offload weapons and ammo there. So if there's a ship at the ammo wharf, the Spanish Steps are closed because it's in the same general area. The dock is here, and the Spanish Steps are just to the west. But we have plans. It's on our bucket list to get to Spanish Steps, so someday, and I'll definitely capture that on video. It's beautiful down there. Joseph asks, will you ever move back to the Philippines full time? What about the home you built? I just went over all this stuff, I think. It's a good question. But in general, our quality of life on Guam is much better than it is in the Philippines. Medical care, the inconveniences and conveniences, the difference between those two, storms, banking, culture, distance, language. The only real plus in the Philippines for us is cost of living. And I think it's like that for most people. There are a lot of inconveniences. There's a culture, there's a language barrier. A lot of people will tell you that everybody in the Philippines speaks English. No, they don't. Maybe if you get around to some of the college towns and in Makati and Bonifacio Global City, some areas of Manila, Quezon City, if you get into the more affluent areas, the more educated areas, yeah, you're going to find a lot of people that speak English. But if you get out into the provinces, good luck. There will be some, but it's a struggle nowadays. But anyway, like I said, the only real plus to living in the Philippines is the cost of living. Will says, I'm thinking of relocating to Guam from the Philippines. Do you get many storms there? Yeah, we get one a year, maybe. Last year we didn't have any. But when we do get them, there's some real bangers. John says, you mentioned the bad thing about Guam is the food. Why? If I said it once, I've said it 100 times. The good thing about Guam is the food. The bad thing about Guam is the food. And what I mean by that, there is no shortage of food choices on Guam. From Guamanian, Chamorro, Filipino, Korean, Japanese, Indian, Russian, Vietnamese, Thai, Malaysian, and all the hybrid varieties thereof. Pizza, American burgers, I mean, it's all here. Every fast food joint you can imagine, with the exception of White Castle hamburgers, to those who are familiar with White Castle hamburgers. Oh yeah, we don't have an Arby's yet, but I'm thinking soon. So the food choices, and then you got the fiestas in Guam. Like I mentioned earlier, the free food, when you go to a fiesta here, it's just, it's just chow down, ribs and red rice and chicken kelaguen, fish kelaguen, lechon pig, roast pig, it's turkey, ham, I mean, and it's all free at these fiestas. So the Chamorros have a tendency to overeat, and so does anybody else on this island. So weight control is always a problem here. The food is good, but the food is bad. In other words, the quantity of the food. And diabetes is just as prevalent here as it is in the Philippines. It's basically from all the carbohydrates. Rice. Guam is a rice-eating country. So the good thing about Guam is the food, if you can control yourself. The bad thing about Guam is the food, if you cannot control yourself. So, all right, that ends the questions, this list of questions. I hope I didn't run over on this video here. I hope my battery and my camera is still working. My display monitor went off, so I'm hoping it's still on. But anyway, I'll wrap this up by saying we'll be in the Philippines in a few weeks. I'll be doing some more videos from there. The drone's going with me. And last time I hung around the house a lot. I had a lot of honeydew projects to do. This time I plan on getting out more, and especially if Terry's going to be traveling with her sisters to the north, I might just be a little bit more footloose and fancy-free with my camera and my drone, and I might wind up in some places that I haven't been to in a while. So if you haven't already, please subscribe and give me a thumbs up, because it helps with the algorithms. Commenting also helps with the algorithms. Any channel interaction that you can do helps with the channel algorithms. And if you want to help support this channel, there's right down below, there's a little heart with a little dollar sign in there. You can donate directly there, or you can go in the description box and find out how you can help this channel in other ways. Join the Patreon just for just a couple dollars a month, and you have access to the blog. I brought the blog back for a lot of my viewers, because they non-stop asking me about it. So again, thanks for watching. Have a great day. Guam out.